All right, welcome. Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keene. As always, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, and check us out. Instagram, Facebook, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn. And wherever you're watching this from, please make sure to hit the like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and share this link. Share it. It helps me to get it out there, new people to find me. That's really the best way to support. And if you would like to donate and support, you can do so by going to PayPal, Cash App, Facebook Messenger Pay, or joining us over on Patreon. Keep in mind, guys, we are completely viewer powered. So that's what's up. And if you want to subscribe to any of the other platforms, all the links are in the description. I've got a cool one. I'm a little bit late, so hopefully we get some people in here tonight. Or if you guys catch this on the flip side, this is just one of those topics that I find absolutely captivating. Just completely captivating. So interesting. Tonight we are going to be talking about Admiral Richard E. Byrd and Operation Highjump. Now, one of the things I found here was, he's wrote or written um, actual, journals and his notes on some of his expeditions that he has done. And we have that tonight too. I have, that as well. And then I have the missing diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd. And I tell you what, this diary has got to be um, it's just one of the craziest texts you'll ever read. It's got a million different images and pictures pertaining to the hollow earth. It has his adventures when he basically, and in real life, he actually, went off radar and out of communication for 2 or 3 hours or something like that. And we have so many different people that believe in flat Earth, so many different people that believe in an ice wall that is actually surrounding us, and that the reason for the Antarctic Treaty is because that, the earth is actually flat or the earth is actually hollow. Now, in this particular missing diary of Admiral Byrd, it kind of goes into a hollow earth and him being brought into this hollow earth by extraterrestrial beings. People have, for a long time, thought about the Nazis and their Antarctic base, and that they were in cahoots with extraterrestrials or other civilizations. A lot of people as well believe that there are extraterrestrial or advanced civilizations with advanced technologies beyond the ice wall as well, right? And these could be the Anunnaki, all different types of different entities and different beings. So tonight we're going to be looking at the Hollow Earth hypothesis, the missing diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, and I also have the documents to Operation Highjump. So it should be pretty fun. It should be pretty cool. And like I said, I've got video. I've got everything. So, we're going to take a look at this first and foremost. Just to get started, we got to break out the facts. I know it's boring, but it is what it is. So, we'll start with Richard E. Byrd. First, we have is Richard E. Byrd. He was October 25th, 1988, born to March 11th, 1957. 1888, excuse me, was an American naval officer and pioneering aviator, polar explorer, and organizer of polar logistics, aircraft flights in which he served as a navigator and expedition leader across the Atlantic Ocean, a segment of the Arctic Ocean, and a segment of the Antarctic Plateau. He is also known for discovering Mount Sidley, the largest dormant volcano in Antarctica. Byrd claimed to be the first to reach both the North and the South Poles by air. However, there is some controversy as to whether Byrd was actually the first to reach the North Pole. It is generally believed that the distance Byrd claimed to fly was longer than the possible fuel range of his airplane. He was a recipient of the Medal of Honor the United States Armed Forces' highest military decoration, and the Navy Cross, the second highest honor for valor given by the U.S. Navy. And just to kind of, you know, help his claims here, there are a lot of people that believe that the amount of fuel that they say goes into the wings of these planes and shit like that is not accurate whatsoever. And some people, there are conspiracies out there. There are conspiracies out there where people believe that either airplanes fly on very little fuel or none at all. And I'm not saying I believe either one. I'm just saying there are conspiracies out there that say, maybe it is possible for him to have made those flights, because maybe what we're told about aviation, just like what we're told about everything else in this world, is not very accurate, right? It's not what we've been told it is. Maybe it doesn't take as much fuel or fuel at all. Maybe it's gliding across the air. Who fucking knows, right? But, he's the first one who has claimed to fly from both the North and the South Pole. And if you guys are in the chat, please give me a hand by hitting the thumbs up and letting me know if you can hear the audio, right? If the audio is good, the video is good, that just helps me a ton. So put it in the chat, put audio is good or video is good, just so I know. I'll go back and check here in a moment. And then we have Operation Highjump. Now, Operation Highjump, officially titled the United States Navy Antarctic Development Program, also called Task Force 68, was a United States Navy operation to establish the research base Little America 4. The operation was organized by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, Jr., U.S. Navy officer in charge, Task Force 68, and led by Rear Admiral Ethan Eric Larson, U.S. Navy Commanding Officer, Task Force 68. Operation Highjump commenced the 26th of August, 1946, and ended in late February 1947. And Task Force 68 included 4,700 men, 70 ships, and 33 aircraft. And I know it's kind of out there, it's kind of like a side note here, but the fact that they belong to Task Force 68, I find that to be slightly interesting, because in MK Ultra, um, yeah, I believe it's the MK Ultra project, they had another project that was a spin-off of it called Sub Project 68. So, I mean, I'm sure there's no connection, but it's just interesting to me, right? So, I pay attention to those numbers and all of that, Maybe I'm just making a connection where there isn't one. So, Highjump's objectives, according to the U.S. Navy report of the operation, were: 1. Training personnel and testing equipment in frigid conditions. 2. Consolidating and extending the United States sovereignty over the largest practicable area of the Antarctic Ocean, publicly denied as a goal before the expedition ended. And 3. Determining the feasibility of establishing, maintaining, and utilizing bases in the Antarctic and investigating possible base sites. 4. Developing techniques for establishing, maintaining, and utilizing air bases on ice, with particular attention to later applicability of such techniques to operations in interior Greenland, where conditions are comparable to those in the Antarctic. 5. Amplifying existing stores of knowledge of electromagnetic, geological, geographic, hydrographic, and meteorological propagation conditions in the area. And 6. Supplementary objectives of the Nanook expedition, which was a smaller equivalent conducted off the eastern Greenland. So, now we are going to go ahead and jump into the first document we have here, which is the missing diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd. And, well, I got one more with you I'm going to share with you before we do that. So, you guys, if anybody in the chat, let me know if you can hear me, and the audio is good, and let me know if you can see me and all that good stuff. I would really appreciate it. Just put audio good or video good in the chat for me. I appreciate that if you would do that for me. and we have hollow earth. And that's what this is basically about. The hollow earth is the concept proposing that the planet Earth is entirely hollow or contains a substantial interior space, notably suggested by Edmund Halley in the late 17th century. The notion was disproven first tentatively by Pierre Bouguer in 1740, then definitively by Charles Hutton in his Schehallien experiment around 1774. It was still occasionally defended through the mid 19th century, notably by John Cleve Symmes Jr. and J.N. Reynolds, but this time it was part of a popular pseudoscience and no longer a scientifically viable hypothesis. The concept of a hollow earth still recurs in folklore and as a premise for subterranean fiction, a subgenre of adventure fiction. Hollow Earth also recurs in conspiracy theories such as the underground kingdom of Argatha and the crypto terrestrial hypothesis, and is often said to be inhabited by mythological figures or political leaders. In ancient times, the concept of a subterranean land inside the earth appeared in mythology, folklore, and legends. The idea of subterranean realms seemed arguable and became entwined with the concept of places of origin or afterlife, such as the Greek underworld, the Nordic Svartalheim, the Christian hell, and the Jewish Sheol, with details describing inner earth in Kabbalistic literature such as the Zohar and the Hesiod Le'Evram. The idea of subterranean realm is also mentioned in the Tibetan Buddhist belief. According to one story from the Tibetan Buddhist belief, there is an ancient city called Shambhala, which is located inside the earth. According to the ancient Greeks, caverns under the surface led to the underworld. Such were the caverns at Ternaron in Laconia, Trozen in Argolis, Aphia in Thesprotia, Heraclea in Pontos, and Eramoni in Thracian and Dacian legends. It is said that they are caverns occupied by a god called Zalmoxis. In Mesopotamian religion, there is a story of a man who, after traveling through the darkness of a tunnel in the mountain of Mashu, entered a subterranean garden. In Celtic mythology, there is a legend of a cave called Cruachan, also known as Ireland's Gate to Hell, a mythical and ancient cave from which strange creatures would emerge and be seen on the surface of the earth. There are also stories of medieval knights and saints who went on pilgrimages to a cave located in Station Island, County Donegal, in Ireland, where they made journeys inside the earth to a place of purgatory. In County Down, Northern Ireland, there is a myth which says tunnels lead to the land of the subterranean Tuatha Dé Danann, a group of people who are believed to have introduced Druidism to Ireland and then went back underground. In Hindu mythology, the underworld is referred to as Patala. In the Bengali version of the Hindu epic, the Ramayana, it has been depicted how Eravan, brother of the demon king Ravana, and isn't that interesting that his name is Eravan, and he's the brother of the demon king, which we have a demon king here in Western civilization named Eraman, right, with an M. So interesting. Later on, they were rescued by Hanuman. The Agami Naga tribes of India claim that their ancestors emerged in ancient times from subterranean land inside the earth. And remember, Naga, right? Those are dragons, serpents, right? That type of entity. The Taino from Cuba believe their ancestors emerged in ancient times from two caves and a mountain underground. Natives of the Trobriand Islands believed that their ancestors had come from a subterranean land through a cavern hole called Obucula. Mexican folklore also tells of a cave in a mountain 5 miles south of Ojinaga, and the Mexico is possessed by devilish creatures who come from inside the earth. In the Middle Ages, an ancient German myth held that the some mountains located in Eisenach and Gotha hold a portal to inner Earth. A Russian legend says the Samoyeds, an ancient Siberian tribe, traveled to a cavern city to live in the Earth. An Italian writer, Dante, describes the hollow Earth in his well-known 14th century work, Dante's Inferno, which the fall of Lucifer from heaven caused an enormous funnel to appear in previously solid and spherical Earth, as well as an enormous mountain opposite it, Purgatory. In Native American mythology, it said the ancestors of the Mandan people in ancient times emerged from subterranean land through a cave on the north side of the Missouri River. There was also a tale about tunnels in the San Carlos Apache Indian Reservation in Arizona near Cedar Creek, which is said to lead inside the earth to a land inhabited by a mysterious tribe. It's also the belief of the tribes of the Iroquois, their ancient ancestors emerged from the subterranean world, and the elders of the Hopi people believe that the Sipapu entrance in the Grand Canyon exists, which leads to the underworld. Brazilian Indians who live along the Parima River in Brazil claim that their forefathers emerged in ancient times from an underground land, and that many other of their ancestors still remain inside the earth. Ancestors of the Incas supposedly came from caves which are located east of Cusco, Peru. This is just, as you can see, you get the point here. It just goes on and on. Basically, all across the earth, we have different cultures, different civilizations, that are claiming to either have come from within the earth. Thank you. Audio and video is good. Thank you, Paolo, Alexander. I appreciate you guys. We either have different different cultures, excuse me, different cultures and civilizations that are claiming to have come from inside the earth, or if they themselves don't claim to come from inside the earth, then they say that the gods did, right? The gods, which basically gave us civilization and created us, came from inside the earth. And we also know that in a lot of different situations as well, they would attribute their survival during floods, cataclysms of all sorts, right? To the gods or ant people or lizard people or whatever, right? Reptiles, all different types of star beings coming up from, under the earth and taking them underground to survive the cataclysms and catastrophic events that have taken place on the earth, right? So, and if you think about it, all the different religions with Sheol and hell and, the underworld, there are a million different varieties of things being inside the earth. So I don't think it's very far fetched at all. Matter of fact, when people talk about a flat earth, I think this is probably more probable to me, as far as like toroidal fields go and things like that, than the earth being just completely flat, right? So we start off with the missing diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, a secret expedition and journey to a paradise inside the earth. And you can see the map here. What is the and this has got a lot of images in it too. Something Negros, what is it? The where people believe like that is where the magnetic center or the hollow earth entrance is, which I'll pull up. Let me pull up some. Um, uh, yeah. So where is it at? See if I can blow up some of this shit, make it bigger for you guys. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen, there's like so much of this shit, I'm not going to go into a bunch. I'm just going to show you one or two of them if I can get a decent picture. the ice walls and all this shit. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Rupus nigra, right? So this is kind of like something akin to what we would actually, be seeing here. This is one of the more interesting ones. Right. And where is the other one? Yeah, this one's shitty, but beyond the ice wall, as you can see, like we would be enclosed in by the ice wall, and some of them are very fucking detailed. They have like lands of the Anunnaki and Mars and all this shit way outside of the ice walls. I mean, I'll leave it to you on what you decide. So, the missing diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd. And lo and behold, the map I literally just pulled up, right? How about it? All right. Can it be possible that down in the middle of the earth, there is another earth that a few hundred miles or so away, separated from us by ground and rock and vapor and such things, there is a great country inhabited by a great race? It is kind of hard to, just because of the programming, right? We've been programmed so fucking much to think of like the globe Earth and all of this. And it's like, then when you think, and to me, the Bible actually backs up um, Hollow Earth too, which I'm going to show you. It talks about, see, here we go. Under the earth, inside the earth, right? Several Bible verses refer to the earth as a whole, including its interior, Lord, everything in it, the world, all who live in it, all that's on it, the seas and all that is in them, and you preserve all them. I mean, there's a million different verses of the Bible talking about, in the earth, on the earth, under the earth. So, I mean, we have examples biblically where people say about the flat earth, right? You know, like, oh, well, the in the earth, under, on the earth. You know, we have all these different examples of the flat Earth because of the firmament, right? And they're right. They talk about the firmament, right? In heaven, on earth, under the earth, right? So on earth, Exodus, Isaiah, under the earth, Philippines, right? And in Revelations, the one that no one can open the scroll, it's under the earth, on the earth, or in the earth, or some shit like that. So, anyway, sorry to be kind of stuck on that. But I just want to say that, the same people that use the Bible for the flat earth, right, because of the firmament and all of that, I think they kind of like totally skip over the possibility of a hollow earth, you know, um, that it could actually be kind of something similar, flat kind of, but more of like a toroidal feel, right? A toroidal shape, a donut earth, if you will, right? The exploration flight over the North Pole. I must write this diary in secrecy and obscurity. It concerns my Arctic flight of the 19th day of February in the year of 1947. And this guy was a bad dude, right? He really was. He was a bad dude. The Earth, as it would appear if viewed from space, showing the North Polar opening to the planet's interior, which is hollow and contains a central sun instead of an ocean of liquid lava. There comes a time when the rationality of men must fade into insignificance, and one must accept the inevitability of the truth. And I have his interview on television. I have the documentary about Antarctica. I've got all of it. So I've got actual footage too, right? I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation at this writing. Perhaps it shall never see the light of public scrutiny. But I must do my duty and record here for all to read one day. And you can see the image of the Antarctic expedition. Really cool, right? And a world of greed and exploitation of certain of mankind can no longer suppress that which is truth. More images of him. It does have there is more to this, but it has a lot of images and stuff like that. The flight log, base camp, Arctic, February 19th, 1947. And even though he was like the commanding officer, they said he really loved to just get in his plane and fly. 0600 hours, all preparations are complete for our flight northward, and we are airborne with full fuel tanks at 0610 hours. See him there. 0620 hours, fuel mixture on starboard engine seems too rich, adjustment made, and Pratt Whitneys are running smoothly. And isn't it crazy how, I don't buy a lot of, the whole, like, I think we've had really advanced technology for quite a while. And that we just rediscover our old technology from the past because we've been destroyed so many fucking times. 0730, radio check with base camp, all is well, and radio reception is normal. 0740, slight oil leak in starboard engine, oil pressure indicator seems normal. 0800, slight turbulence noted from easterly direction at altitude of 2321 feet. Correction 1700, no further turbulence, but tailwind increases. Slight adjustment in throttle controls, aircraft performing very well now. And you can see the posters, drama of the human daring and courage at the bottom of the world, with Byrd at the South Pole. Actually filmed in the vast unknown of the Arctic, right? And I have the picture. 0815 hours, radio check with base camp, situation normal. 0830, turbulence encountered again, increased altitude to 2900, smooth flight conditions again. You can see the hollow model here. 0910, vast ice and snow, below coloration of yellowish nature and dispersed in a linear pattern, altering course for a better examination of this color pattern below. Note reddish or purple color also. Circle this area 2 full turns and return to assigned compass heading. Position check made again to base camp and relay information concerning colorations in the ice and snow below. 0910, hours both magnetic and gyro compasses beginning to gyrate and wobble. We are unable to hold our heading by instrumentation. Take bearing with sun compass, yet all seems well. The controls are seemingly slow to respond and have sluggish quality, but there's no indication of icing. 0915 hours in the distance is what appears to be mountains. 0949 hours, 29 minutes elapsed flight time from the first sighting of the mountains. It is no illusion. They are mountains and consisting of a small range that I have never seen before. 09:55 hours, altitude changed to 2950 feet, encountering strong turbulence again. 1000, we are crossing over the small mountain range and still proceeding northward as best as can be ascertained. Beyond the mountain range is what appears to be a valley with a small river or stream running through the center portion. There should be no green valley below. Something is definitely wrong and abnormal here. We should be over ice and snow. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning. The gyroscope is oscillating back and forth. And this is what some people actually said. This is an actual, like, real fucking, map, old school map, right, from satellites. I don't know about that, but 1005, I alter altitude to 1400 feet and execute a sharp left turn to better examine the valley below. It is green with either moss or a type of tight-knit grass. The light here seems different. I cannot see the sun anymore. We make another left turn and we spot what seems to be a large animal of some kind below us. It appears to be an elephant. No, it looks more like a mammoth. This is incredible. Yet there it is. Decrease altitude to 1,000 feet and take binoculars to better examine the animal. It is confirmed. It is definitely a mammoth-like animal. Report this to base camp. Little America. 10:30 hours, encountering more rolling green hills now. The external temperature indicator reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Continuing on our heading now. Navigation instruments seem normal. I am puzzled over their actions. Attempt to contact base camp, but the radio is not functioning. 11:30 hours, countryside below is more level and normal, if I may use that word. Ahead we spot what seems to be a city. This is impossible. Aircraft seems light and oddly buoyant. The controls refuse to respond. My God. Off our port and starboard wings are a strange type of aircraft. They are closing rapidly alongside. They are disc-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. They are close enough now to see the markings on them. It is a type of swastika. This is fantastic. Where are we? What has happened? I tug at the controls again. They will not respond. We are caught in an invisible vice grip of some type. And I mean, you think about it too. And let me just kind of, this is, we do have actual footage from Antarctica. I don't know if that's an ice wall, but resembles one at least. And I don't know how legit the, just one more time. Imagine crossing that. See? And, he describes something very similar, to what we see here, which, there's no telling how legitimate any of that is, right? We know that there is, the real footage they have of this, right? From, yeah, you can see it, man. You can see the
Turn your
fucking
pastime into your full time. Your person.
They measure as long as 40
look at
miles
that.
and are counted not in acres, but in square miles. The ships must follow a twisting, turning sea alley. Clear.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, the whole ice wall thing, from footage we have, no, it's not definitive or anything like that. But imagine crossing that, and then all of a sudden you start to see green, and then you start to see mammoths, and then you start, um, to see what looks like normal civilization. And next thing you know, you have UFOs on both sides, like fighter jets would do if somebody was in our airspace, right? And they have swastikas on them, right? And then think about Germany and their interest in the occult, their alleged Antarctic base, right? And allegedly being in cahoots with, extraterrestrials. Pyramids in Antarctica, a lot of it. And yes, this is obviously not legitimate, but it's interesting. So 11:35. And make sure to hit the like and just let me know if you guys. Yeah, okay, the audio's good. All right, 11:35 hours. Our radio crackles and a voice comes through in English with what perhaps is a slight Nordic or Germanic accent. The message is, "Welcome, Admiral, to our domain. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax. Admiral, you are in good hands. I note the engines of our plane have stopped running. The aircraft is under some stress, now turning itself. The controls are useless." 11:40 hours, another radio message received. "We begin the landing process now, and in moments the plane shudders slightly and begins a descent as though caught in some great unseen elevator. The downward motion is negligible, and we touch down with only a slight jolt. 11:45, I am making a hasty last entry into the flight log. Several men are approaching on foot toward our aircraft. They are tall, with blonde hair. In the distance is a large shimmering city pulsating with rainbow hues of color. I do not know what is going to happen now, but I see no signs of weapons or those approaching. I hear now a voice ordering me by name to open the cargo door. I comply. And these are, you can see here, right? These gates, right? Um, and if you think about it, right, these are like the descriptions of Quetzalcoatl, right? Giant white guy, blonde hair, blue eyes. The Aryan race, blonde hair, blue eyes. Um, the Nordics, right, and the Norse gods as well, right? So this is a interesting depiction of these beings. From this point, I write all of the following events here from memory. It defies the imagination and would seem all but madness if it had not happened. The radio man and I are taken from the aircraft and we are received in a most cordial manner. We were then boarded on a small platform like conveyance with no wheels. It moves us toward the glowing city with great swiftness. As we approach, the city seems to be made of a crystal material. Soon we arrive at a large building that is a type I have never seen before. It appears to be right out of the design board of Frank Lloyd Wright, or perhaps more correctly, out of a Buck Rogers setting. We are given some type of warm beverage which tasted like nothing I have ever savored before. It is delicious. After about 10 minutes, two of our wondrous appearing hosts come to our quarters and announce that I am to accompany them. I have no choice but to comply. I leave my radio man behind, and we walk a short distance and enter into what seems to be an elevator. We descend downward for some moments. The machine stops and the door lifts silently upward. We then proceed down a long highway that is lit by rose-colored light that seems to be emanating from the very walls themselves. One of the beings motions for us to stop before a great door. Over the door is an inscription that I cannot read. The door slides noisily open and I am beckoned to enter. One of my hosts speaks. "Have no fear, Admiral. You are to have an audience with the master." I step inside and my eyes adjust to the beautiful coloration that seems to be filling the room completely. Then I begin to see my surroundings. What greeted my eyes is the most beautiful sight of my entire existence. It is in fact too beautiful and wondrous to describe. It is exquisite and delicate. I do not think there exists a human term that can describe it in any detail with justice. My bold thought.
By the icebreaker.
Oops.
The submarine, Senate, brings up the rear. You formed ice.
My um my thoughts are interrupted in a cordial manner by a warm, rich voice of melodious quality. I bid you welcome to our domain, Admiral. You can see the Agartha, right? Hollow Earth. Shambhala, Cave City, Central Sun. It is interesting. Spaceship base. To and from other galaxies. Rainbow City. It is interesting. It's a pretty cool one, actually. I see a man with delicate features, and think about, shit like the King Kong movies and shit. They do telegraph this shit too. So, with the predictive programming and the symbolism in Hollywood, they do it with the Hollow Earth just the same, more so than Flat Earth probably. I see a man with delicate features and with the etching of years upon his face. He is seated at a long table. He motions me to sit down in one of the chairs, and after I'm seated, he places his fingertips together and smiles. He speaks softly again and conveys the following: We have let you enter here because you are of noble character and well known on the surface world, Admiral. Surface world? I half gasp under my breath. Yes, the master replies with a smile. You are in the domain of the Ariani, the inner world of the earth. We shall not long delay your mission, and you will be safely escorted back to the surface and for a distance beyond. But now, Admiral, I shall tell you why you have been summoned here. Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was at that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the Flugelrods, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. That is, of course, past history now, my dear Admiral, but I must continue on. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity, but now we must. For you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for man, namely that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the powers of your world, and yet they do not heed. Now you have been chosen to be a witness here that our world does exist. You see, our culture and science is many thousands of years beyond your race, Admiral. I interrupted. But what does this have to do with me, sir? The master's eyes seemed to penetrate deeply into my mind, and after studying me for a few moments, he replied, Your race has now reached the point of no return. For there are those among you who would destroy your very world rather than relinquish their power as they know it. And that is still fucking true, is it not? It is still true. There are people that would absolutely destroy all of us, the whole thing, before they would let go of their grip on power and control. And I was literally watching a creator the other day talking about the black pill and how it's a trap, the doom and gloom and all this shit. It's like, man, people fear what they don't understand. I think it's way worse of a trap for the toxic positivity and, you know, um, using being awake or aware or your high vibe as an excuse to bury your fucking head in the sand, just like you did, before you were awake. When you were asleep, you buried your head in the sand. Now you're too woke to look at anything, right? So now you bury your head in the sand because you want your vibe's too high for that. Or those who say, I create my own reality, so that's not a part of my reality. Yes, the fuck it is. And we live in a shared collective reality and experience, you know? And yes, you have free will to make your own choices and decisions and what you focus your thoughts on, and, um, but so does everyone else around you. And we live in a collective experience. So the shit's happening whether you like it or not, you know? And it doesn't mean we gotta, and we fear it when we don't understand it, you know. So it's like hiding from darkness isn't gonna change it. It's like if we, it's like trying to collectively avoid our shadow work. It's like if we don't look at it, we can't transmute it. We can't change it. We just keep sweeping it under the rug like we have been for so long. I nodded. The master continued. In 1945 and afterward, we tried to contact your race, but our efforts were met with hostility. Our rods were fired upon, yes, even pursued with malice and animosity by your fighter planes. So now, I say to you, my son, there is a great storm gathering in your world, a black fury that will not spend itself for many years. There will be no answer in your arms. There will be no safety in your science. It may rage on until every flower of your culture is trampled, and all human things are leveled in vast chaos. Your recent war was only a prelude of what is yet to come for your race. We here see it more clearly with each hour. Do you say I'm mistaken? No, I answered. It happened once before. The Dark Ages came and they lasted for more than 500 years. Yes, my son, replied the master, the dark ages that will come now for your race will cover the earth like a pale. But I believe that some of your race will live through the storms. Beyond that, I cannot say. We see a great distance a new world stirring from the ruins of your race, seeking its lost legendary treasures. And they will be here, my son, safe in our keeping. When that time arrives, we shall come forward again to help revive your culture and your race. Perhaps by then you will have learned the futility of war and its strife, and after that time, certain of your culture and science will be returned for your race to begin anew. You, my son, are to return to the surface world with this message, with these closing words. Our meeting seemed at an end. I stood for a moment as in a dream, but yet I knew this was reality. And for some strange reason, I bowed slightly, either out of respect or humility. I didn't know which. Suddenly, I was again aware that the two beautiful hosts who had brought me here were again at my side. This way, Admiral, motion one. I turned once more before leaving and looked back toward the master. A gentle smile was etched on his delicate and ancient face. Farewell, my son, he spoke. Then he gestured with a lovely, slender hand, a motion of peace, and our meeting was truly ended. Quickly, we walked back to the great door of the master's chamber and once again entered into the elevator. The door slid downward, and we were at once going upward. One of my hosts spoke again. We must now make haste, Admiral, as the master desires to delay you no longer on your scheduled timetable. You must return with his message to your race. I said nothing. All of this was almost beyond belief, and once again my thoughts were interrupted as we stopped. I entered the room and was again with my radio man. He had an anxious expression on his face. As I approached, I said, "It is all right, Howie. It's all right." The two beings motioned us towards the awaiting conveyance. We boarded and soon arrived back at the aircraft. The engines were idling and we boarded immediately. The whole atmosphere seemed charged now with a certain air of urgency. After the cargo door was closed, the aircraft was immediately lifted by that unseen force until we reached an altitude of 2,700 feet. Two of the aircraft were alongside for some distance, guiding us on our return way. I must state here the airspeed indicator registered no reading, yet we were moving along at a very rapid rate. 2:15, a radio message comes through. We are leaving you now, Admiral. Your controls are free. Auf Wiedersehen. We watched for a moment as the flugel rods disappeared into the pale blue sky. The aircraft suddenly felt as though caught in a sharp downdraft for a moment. We quickly recovered her control. We did not speak for some time. Each man has his thoughts. Entry in the flight log continues. 2:20 hours, we are again over vast areas of ice and snow and approximately 27 minutes from base camp. We radio, they respond. We report all conditions normal. Base camp expresses relief at our reestablished contact. 300 hours, we land smoothly. I have a mission. End log entries. March 11th, 1947. I've just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I have stated fully my discovery and the message from the master. All is duly recorded. The president has been advised. I am now detained for several hours, 6 hours, 39 minutes to be exact. I am interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal. I am placed under strict control via the national security provisions of the United States of America. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. Incredible. I am reminded that I'm a military man and I must obey orders. December 30th, 1956, final entry. The last few years elapsed since 47 have not been kind. I now make my final entry in this singular diary. In closing, I must state that I have faithfully kept this matter secret as directed all these years. It has been completely against my values of moral right. Now I seem to sense the long night coming on, and this secret will not die with me. But as all truth shall, it will triumph, and so it shall. This can be the only hope for mankind. I have seen the truth, and it has quickened my spirit and has set me free. I have done my duty towards the monstrous military industrial complex. Now the long night begins to approach, but there shall be no end. Just as the night of the Arctic ends, the brilliant sunshine of truth shall come again, and those who are of darkness shall fall in its light. For I have seen that land beyond the pole, that center of the great unknown. Interesting. Pretty interesting. Hmm. This is from the Smoky God. And science be damned. Our planet is hollow and life exists at the Earth's center and throughout a vast tunnel system, which we know we have tunnels, we have underground cities, Darren Kuyu, all types of shit, right? Vast underground cities and vast underground tunnel networks and shit. And we're still boring tunnels. Elon Musk is doing it. The interior of the Earth is not made up of molten lava, but houses a vast civilization unheard of by those living on the planet's outer surface. A rare but all too true book, The Smoky God tells a fantastic journey made inside the Earth where the author meets a race of giants who befriend him. The valuable manuscript was believed to be lost for all time, but is now available in its entirety, along with other incredible material that provides important evidence that our Earth is hollow and populated by super race believed to be related to those who once resided on the continents of Lemuria and Atlantis. The first interview ever with the princess of the underground city beneath Mount Shasta. Full description of the Agartha network, major cities, language, government, transportations. Interesting. That is interesting, actually. And here is the Agartha, right? The whole word. We actually seen this, right? Agartha, sometimes Agartha or Agarthi, legendary city that's said to reside in Earth's core. It's related to Hollow Earth theory and is popular subject in esotericism. Agartha is one of the most common names cited for the Society of Underground Dwellers. Shambhala, also known as Shambhala or Shangri-La, is sometimes said to be its capital city. And I'm trying to think, you guys may or may not know it, but the Mayans I think it's the Mayans. They had an underground city. It might have been Shambhala as well. The mythical paradise of Shambhala is known under many different names. It's been called the Forbidden Land, the Land of White Waters, Land of Radiant Spirits, Land of Living Fire, Land of Living Gods, Land of Wonders. Hindus know it as Arivarta, the land of the realm of the Aryans, the land of the noble, worthy ones. That is interesting that the Hindus called it the land of the realm of the Aryans, right? Interesting as fuck, actually. The land of the noble and worthy ones. The land from the Vedas come the Chinese Sai Tian, the Western paradise of Sai Wang Mu, the royal mother of the West. The Russian Old Believers, 19th century Christian sect, knew it as Belavadai, and Kyrgyz people as Jamirdar. But throughout Asia is best known by its Sanskrit, Shambhala, the place of peace, of tranquility. While once a popular concept, in the last century little serious attention has been paid to the conjectures, with the possibly apocryphal exception of Adolf Hitler. And the theory is not supported by modern science. The idea of subterranean worlds may have been inspired by ancient religious beliefs in Hades, Sheol, and Hell. Ferdinand Antoni Ossendowski's 1920 book, Beasts, Men, and Gods, also discusses Agartha, the myth of Agartha, also known as Shambhala, and it was known in India, the underworld realm. The underworld realm, peopled by initiates and led by the masters who are the spiritual leaders of humanity. And in that book, he called them the masters. Interesting. Agartha is the great Asian university of the initiates of the greater mysteries. The Mahatma, or Great Soul, who is also known as the Lord of the World, plays the part of the supreme spiritual leader of humanity. According to Alexander Saint-Yves Alvidre of France, the secret world of Agartha and all of its wisdom and wealth will be accessible for all mankind when Christianity lives up to the commandments which were once drafted by Moses, Jesus, meaning when the anarchy which exists in our world is replaced by synarchy. St. Yves gives a lively description of Agartha in his book as if it were a place which really exists, situated in the Himalayas in Tibet. The version of the history of Agartha is based upon and revealed information, meaning received by St. Yves himself through attunement. Saint Alvedre created the archeometer. Shambhala concept figures prominently in Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Kalachakra teachings, and revived in the West by Blavatsky and Theosophical Society. As with many concepts of Vajrayana Buddhism, the idea of Shambhala is said to have an outer, an inner, and secret meaning. The outer meaning understands Shambhala to exist as a physical place, although only individuals with the appropriate karma can reach and experience it as such. And there are various ideas about where this society is located, but it's often placed in Central Asia, north of Tibet. The inner and secret meanings refer to more subtle understandings of what Shambhala represents and are generally passed on orally. Alice Bailey transformed it into kind of an extra dimensional or spiritual reality. The Roerichs see it as existence as both spiritual and physical, and the hollow earth or hollow planet theory is supported by superconscious knowledge based channeled sources of universal nature like Seth, channeled by Jane Roberts, Ramatha by J.Z. Knight, and Datre by Aona. And before we look at some of the other theories, this is his interview, Admiral Byrd, after, going on the trip of Operation Highjump. And I have the Operation Highjump documents as well.
It's time for the Longines Chronoscope, a television journal of the important issues of the hour, Brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. A presentation of the Longines Whitnor Watch Company, maker of Longines, the world's most honored watch, and Whitnor, distinguished companion to the world-honored Longines. Good evening. This is Frank Knight. May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope? Larry Lasser, CBS News correspondent, and Kenneth Crawford, National Affairs Editor of Newsweek magazine. Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
The North Pole used to be a no man's land, but these are the days when, by buying a ticket on a commercial airliner, you can fly across the North Pole and drink a cocktail at the same time. Yet only 60 or more years ago, about 35 years ago, our guest tonight found out whether there was any land north of the North American continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Well, Admiral,
Yeah.
would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they are safer, and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker Atka, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow.
Is that very definitely planned, or is that...
That is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand. I think everybody can, the interest in the North.
So the government has really become interested. Yeah, well, he doesn't. There isn't very many interviews of this dude. He don't do a lot of talking after he has, been in the mix here. So I'm just, putting that out there as well, right? I mean, we have this, the missing diary, and all of this. But he also, and this is more legitimate, was To the Pole, the diary and notebook of Richard E. Byrd. This is way, 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 way longer. But you can see there's lots and lots of footage, that they actually recorded from this. It's pretty fucking interesting when you think about it, guys. Like, honestly,
Families love fresh strawberries and chocolate.
The fact that they have created the Antarctic treaties, the lore, around the Nazis and the Germans and their bases and, all of this shit, when it comes to the Arctic as well. Let's go here. And we're going to look, I'll show you Operation Highjump as well. Where's it at? I got it over here, right here. Right there. Take a look at a few things. Let me finish giving these other theories real quick, and then we will go into Highjump. So, and I'll try to share some more of the footage we have too. I mean, we've got some pretty good shit too. So, where's it at? Yeah, this is the Ancient Aliens one. I can't show that one, I don't think. This is Journeying Towards the Center of the Earth, and this is an incredible documentary. And this is like going to be. This is what I'm going to do too with these documentaries. I'm going to,
times you can just sit down.
I'm going to drop the links in the chat for everybody as we go along with this. That way you guys can check them out too. So. All right. Now, an early source for the belief in the underground civilizations is the Smoky God, which we showed a little excerpt, a moment ago, which claims to be the biography of a Norwegian sailor named Olaf Jansen. The book explains how Jansen's sloop sailed through an entrance to the Earth interior at the North Pole. For 2 years, he lived with the inhabitants of an underground network of colonies who, Emerson writes, were a full 12 feet tall and whose world was lit by a smoky central sun. Their capital city was said to be the original Garden of Eden. While Emerson does not use the name Agartha, later works such as Agartha, Secrets of the Subterranean Cities, have identified the civilization Jansen encountered with the Agartha and its citizens as Agarthan. And if you think about the whole smoky sun, the dark sun thing, we have. I mean, I just find it kind of interesting, the tall, blonde-haired, Aryans, right? Pale skin that have been described. And then if you think about, there are many mythologies too about two brothers of creation, and one, in particular, like the opposing one of Quetzalcoatl, who is a giant white guy, right, with blonde hair, is Tetzicatlipoca, and he's the black sun, right? And you look at like the Nazis; they had a lot of the black sun. So the Vril, I mean, all of this, the symbolism for the black sun was huge, right? And this could get into Planet X and all of this, right? It may just not be what we think it is, So, according to the Secrets to Shambhala the Lesser, one of the colonies, was the seat of government for the network. While Shambhala the Lesser is an inner continent, its satellite colonies are smaller, enclosed ecosystems located just beneath the Earth's crust or discreetly within mountains. The cataclysms and wars taking place on the surface drove these people underground. They were said to include a lengthy Atlantean-Lemurian war and the use of thermonuclear weaponry that eventually sank and destroyed these two highly advanced civilizations. The Sahara, Gobi, the Australian outback, and the deserts of the southwestern U.S. are said to be but a few examples of the devastation that resulted. The subcities were created as refuges for the people and as safe havens for sacred records, teachings, and technologies that were cherished by these ancient cultures. And if we think about like the ancient Sumerians and shit, right? The evil wind and all that, and Hindus as well. These wars of the gods. This has been a thing. But the evil wind with the Anunnaki, and them using that weapon of this, it was like the ultimate weapon of destruction that they brought out. And you think about Thoth, the Atlantean priest king, and him describing, the water rising up over, the Temple of Light and shit like that, right? And him going to, Egypt in a spaceship after all this shit happened, right? And he was an Atlantean. So we do have texts that kind of, at least support some of the mythologies. Now, It is believed that the great kingdom of Lemuria, which was located in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, was destroyed by Atlantis, in a great war that led to a cataclysmic destruction of Atlantis and Mu. Mu was a great city on the surface of what is now the Gobi Desert. It had two satellite cities by the name of Agartha Alpha and Beta that survived the destruction. The inhabitants of Agartha are said to have scientific knowledge and expertise far beyond that of the people who live on the surface of the planet. Lost technology from the days of Atlantis. The descendants of ancient Lemuria now live in peace in subterranean caverns. The leaders of these states, variously called ascended masters, guardians of the tradition, Psychotelios, or the perfected ones, the shining ones, the ancients, the watchers, the immortals, the monitors, the hidden directorate, the children of Seth, etc., all follow what is known as the ancient path and do not interfere in the lives of humans that live above the surface, nor is there any interaction between them. And I mean, think about this. You know, what is it, the island of Crete, like the temple of Zeus, and then even today, right? CERN built on the temple of Apollyon, right? Shiva the Destroyer. It's just interesting, you know. In Tibet, there's a major mystical shrine, also called Patala, which is said by the people to sit atop an ancient cavern and tunnel system which reaches throughout the Asian continent and possibly beyond. The Nagas have affinity with water, and the entrances to their underground palaces are often also said to be hidden at the bottom of wells, deep lakes, and rivers. And the Nagas are dragons, serpent beings, right? That's what the Nagas are. They're warriors too. And notice, like, they're USOs, not UFOs, right? They're underwater, you know, which I think is far more likely. And then you think about Ea Enki. He was the Lord of the Water first, right? Before he was Lord of the Earth, of the Anunnaki, which are also known as the Shining Ones. The Old Ones, in an article entitled The Hollow Earth, Myth or Reality for Atlantis Rising, Brad Steiger writes of the legends of the Old Ones. And that's like the Lovecraftian Old Ones, right? An ancient race that populated the surface world millions of years ago and then moved underground. The Old Ones, an immensely intelligent and scientifically advanced race, Steiger writes, have chosen to structure their own environment under the surface of the planet and manufacture all their necessities. The Old Ones are hominid, extremely long-lived, and predate Homo sapiens by more than 1 million years. The Old Ones generally remain aloof from the surface peoples, but from time to time they've been known to offer constructive criticism, and it has been said they often kidnap human children to tutor and rear as their own. Nah, bruh. I'm not buying that. They kidnap human kids to tutor them. Yeah, bullshit. I think it's for something else. Just saying. But whatevs. The Buddhist theory is believed to be a race of supermen and superwomen who occasionally come to the surface to oversee the development of the human race. It's also believed that this subterranean world has millions of inhabitants and many cities, its capital being Shambhala. Ancient philosophy states that Agartha was first colonized thousands of years ago when a holy man led a tribe to the underground. The people have scientific knowledge and expertise far beyond that of the people who live on the surface of the planet. Hindu, the Ramayana, one of the most famous texts of India, tells the story of a great avatar, Rama. It describes Rama as an emissary from Agartha who arrived on a Vimana. In India, there is an ancient belief still held by some in a subterranean race of serpent people, right? Nagas, who dwell in the cities Patala and Bhogavati. According to the legend, they wage war on the kingdom of Agartha. The Nagas, according to the deep dwellers, are described as a very advanced race or species with highly developed technology. They also harbor or disdain for human beings, whom they are said to abduct, torture, interbreed with, and even to eat. The entrances, while the entrance to the Bhagavati is somewhere in the Himalayas, believers assert that the Patala can be entered through the well of Sheshnath in Benares, India. Says William Michael Mott in The Deep Dwellers, according to the herpetologist and author Sherman A. Minton, has stated in his book Venomous Reptiles. The entrance is very real, with 40 steps which descend into a circular depression to terminate at a closed stone door, which is covered in bas-relief cobras. And the 40, right? We see that in the Bible, right, as a recurring thing, 40 days, right? 40 years, right? If you look at the Anunnaki and the Sumerians, they had numbers, right? That their value. So Enlil's value was 50, and Enki's value was 40, right? And there are translations that Yahweh and Enki are one and the same. I am who I am basically means the same thing. So, I'm just putting that out there. Purported entrances to Agartha are Cuevo de los Teos, Ecuador, Gobi Desert, Mongolia, the Great Pyramid of Giza, Iguazu Falls, Argentina and Brazil, Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, USA, Manaus, Brazil, Mato Grosso, Brazil, Mount Epomeo, Italy, Mount Shasta, California, the Agarthian city of Telos, North Pole, Rama, near Yapur, India, South Pole, and the Well of Sheshna in Benares, India, the Agarthan city of Patala. Very, very interesting, actually. Yeah, very interesting. I don't know about that, the crystal core. What connects Operation Highjump, Nazi flying saucers, and the hollow earth theory? According to videos circulating on TikTok following World War II, in 1946 and 1947, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, an American naval officer, led an expedition to Antarctica called Operation Highjump under the pretense of conducting scientific studies. Those who subscribe to the narrative believe it was actually an invasion fleet consisting of 13 ships, 33 aircraft, and 4,700 men. And that is a fucking lot. I mean, honestly. They went to Antarctica with 13 warships, 33 aircraft, and 4,700 men. And they were heavily armed, by the way. To claim to Antarctica and ensure no Nazis had fled there from Germany. The story goes that upon arrival, the expeditionary force discovered a secret stronghold set up by Nazi Germany, and they were attacked by Nazi flying saucers. Upon further investigation, Admiral Byrd came into contact with aliens. According to the long-lost secret diaries of Admiral Byrd, which we read, he found an entrance into the hollow earth where he discovered a lush and green environment with a temperate climate and shimmering rainbow city made of crystal in the cave. He met extraterrestrials who spoke with a German accent, flew disc-shaped ships, swastikas on them, etc., etc. Nazi did, in fact, plan to expand their operation into Antarctica. Now, I heard they did this like for oil, like their whale for whales and shit like that. That way they could do their own oil. Now, rumors about the Nazi UFOs began circulating in German nationalist circles during the 50s with the belief that a last battalion containing highly advanced UFOs was hiding in Antarctica. Increasing reports of UFO sightings gave credibility to the story at the time. But it was not until 1975 that serious claims were made that the loss of aircraft during Admiral Byrd's expedition was due to them being shot down by the Nazis using advanced weaponry. In reality, one aircraft crashed during a whiteout. German authors Matern and Friedrich propagated the claims, but Friedrich was actually Ernst Zundel, a neo-Nazi publisher who blended the stories of Operation Highjump with elaborate myths of a Nazi resurgence. Zundo supported the UFO claim with a Spanish article in Chilean newspaper El Mercurio by one of the journalists from the operation, Lee Van Alla, claiming that Admiral Byrd allegedly warned about aircraft invasions from polar regions. However, the article was mistranslated. Byrd feared an attack by Soviet aircraft against the U.S. from the North and South Pole, not Nazi flying saucers. Nazi flying saucers became a mix of ideas, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he did actually do that, right? He talked about how, there was the threat of them coming from both poles. Yeah. So we did see that, and you can see some of the images here, from Antarctica, right? The different things that they brought with them, right? They were loaded to the fucking gills, dude. I mean, honestly, look at that. They had helicopters, they had warships, they had fucking fighter jets, they had it all. They had troops out the ass. They weren't playing games. They weren't playing games, right? They were going there looking for possible, conflict. That's an absolute fact, right? I don't care who you are. If we look at the report of Operation Highjump, the Atlantic Fleet considers it all reasonable. Measures were taken in a relatively short period available to adequately repair the units assigned to the task force subject operation. It's noted that all major objectives were accomplished except the construction at Little America of a something airstrip. Well, isn't that interesting that they didn't complete the construction? Like the whole thing they went there for. They left early. They were supposed to be there for quite a bit, quite a while. They were armed to the teeth, right? 4,700 dudes, 33 fucking fighter jets, all this shit, right? All these 17 battleships, all this, right? And then they ended up leaving early. It says, the existing unusually severe ice conditions precluded accomplishing this task. However, considerable experimental work was conducted, and it believes that the acceptable technique was developed for constructing such an airstrip on snow covered glacial ice, permitting the operation thereon of aircraft using conventional something type landing gear. And you've seen like some of the objectives was actually them to conquer this area, and then they changed their mind. It says due to the assignment of such a relatively large task force, the Navy has available a large reservoir of polar condition personnel. In view of the increasing strategic importance of the Arctic, this comparatively large number of cold-weathered trained officers and men might, at some future date, prove most valuable to the naval service. The Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Atlantic Fleet, conviction is really sad. Definite advantages have accrued to the United States and the naval services as a result of the conduct of subject operation. It's recommended that a definite progress of naval operations be carried out annually in either the Arctic or the Antarctic regions. The Arctic would be preferable in the view of much shorter distance to U.S. ports. The next large Antarctic expedition should be Joint Army and Navy project, so recommended, which we've seen all this. That's going to give us, see if we see anything different here. The task to establish, maintain during the Antarctic summer, a temporary base for approximately 400 personnel in an airstrip on the Rosa Shelf ice and vicinity of Little America to conduct systemic outward radial air exploration of assigned areas of the Antarctic continent, establish an emergency winter camp to accommodate 35 personnel for a period of 15 months for the conduct of rescue operations for aviation personnel forced down in the interior of the continent after evacuation of the temporary base and withdrawal of all ships. This emergency camp was constructed and equipped but not activated. The operational phase began December 1946. Yeah, it's like they just didn't. It's like they did not get um they did not get, as far as they wanted to. Technical control of the project will be retained by the Chief of Naval Operations, Rear Admiral Byrd, who will be designated as officer in charge of the project, which he was retired. The actual expedition will comprise a task force, the U.S. Atlantic Fleet, under the command of Captain Richard E, now commanding Task Force 68 in the Arctic. The project may participate in the actual expedition and locally exercise technical control, but tactical command will continue to be vested in the task force commander. Isn't that weird that he's retired, right? Isn't that fucking weird? Like, I wonder why they would do that. Yeah. It is very interesting. And I don't believe this is legit either, but,
Wall. Take a look at this clip.
you know. What is really sad, and I bet they added that, what is really fucking sad to me, at least, is how people will basically fake any fucking thing anymore. They will fake anything anymore. It doesn't matter. Like, they don't care. They don't care if it's bullshit. They don't care if it's lies. They don't care if it's nonsense. They don't care if it's AI. They don't care about any of it, right? As long as it makes them a buck, right? And get some followers or subscribers. I am actually going to wrap this one up. I'm just getting really tired. I may do a part 2 or try and do a little bit better job on this one. But if you guys enjoyed this, please consider supporting the channel, broadcast, myself, my work, all that good stuff by donating. You can do that PayPal.me, the Best Damn Podcast, Cash App, Best Damn Podcast, or by going to Facebook, my personal page, facebook.com, John Keene, Best Damn Podcast, and going through Messenger, the Facebook pay, or joining me over on Patreon, patreon.com, Best Damn Podcast Official. And you can also book a personal tarot or astrology reading by texting 513-393-2396 or emailing therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com. And make sure you join the Facebook group, Exposing the New World Order. Follow me, Facebook, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, YouTube, Best Damn Podcast Official, and Best Damn Podcast. TikTok at the Best Damn Podcast, and all the links are in the description. Make sure to hit the thumbs up, guys. Comment. Let me know what you think about the video. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, whether, on the flip side, no matter what platform you get this on. And share the links. That is an awesome way to support me, just by sharing it manually on your social medias and in your groups. That way new people can find it. And make sure to subscribe and click that bell or follow wherever you're watching from. Like I said, donate, support. All right, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you next time. Y'all have an awesome weekend and Father's Day. Remember, Jesus is the truth, way, and life. God bless you guys. I love you, and see you next time. Peace.